Hi. So I wanted to talk to you today about a type of animal. It's a class of animals, actually. It's a group of animals that fit into one class, and they are called amphibians. Can you say that word, amphibian? It's a big word. Amphibian. Try it. Amphibian. Okay. Amphibians are certain types of animals that fit into one group because they have a lot of the same characteristics. That means that they share a lot of the same things about them. Okay? So amphibians are animals like frogs. Do you like my frog picture? Lizards are also amphibians. Toads are amphibians. Geckos are amphibians, and certain kind of small wormish type thing. I don't know, it's a worm. I have never seen it myself, but apparently a certain kind of worm is also an amphibian. So how do we know if an animal is an amphibian? We have to talk about their characteristics. An amphibian is cold-blooded, and that means that when you put them in a hot place, they get very hot. And when you put them in a cold place, they get very cold. They can't regulate their body temperature. You know, when we get cold, we put on a coat, but our body temperature stays the same. When we get really hot, we may feel really hot. It may be 100 degrees outside, but our body temperature stays the same. Cold-blooded animals change. Their body temperature changes when it's cold and hot. They also have a life cycle, meaning they start out as one animal and they turn into another type of animal when they grow up. For example, a frog starts out as a tadpole, which is a lot like a fish, but then turns into a frog, which is a completely different animal. So amphibians have a life cycle where they start out as one thing and they turn into another thing. Okay. I think all amphibians, since they live in the water and the land, they have webbed feet, which means they don't have feet that have toes. They have skin in between their toes, and that helps them to what? It helps them to swim. Good. So another characteristic that we talk about when we talk about amphibians is that all amphibians lay eggs. So we know that all amphibians are oviparous. They all lay eggs. Now also, when an amphibian is first born, it doesn't have lungs to breathe. It has gills like a fish. So they breathe differently. When they're babies and they're firstborn, they have gills like a fish. And then as they grow up, they get lungs so they can live on the land. Okay? Animals like fish who have gills have to breathe underwater. Now, then we also know that amphibians live on land and water. Okay? Something about an amphibian's skin, it's always wet. They do not have fur. They do not have hair. They have slimy, not really slimy, but they have wet skin because they breathe from their skin, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts. Okay, so their skin always has to be wet, so that's why they have to be able to go in the water to stay wet, okay? So that's some fun facts about amphibians. Now, I have a really funny story about a certain type of amphibian. It's called a frog, okay? And I want to read it to you. It's a very old book, and I've been reading this book to my children and my nephews. So look, it needs to go to the book hospital, right? But this story is called Green Wilma. It's a funny story. And it's written by Ted Arnold. Ted Arnold writes a lot of these funny stories. And a lot of his characters look like this with these big eyes and these big heads. Okay, so Ted Arnold is the illustrator and the author. And I want you to look at this cover. And what do you notice about it? I noticed something right away that's really funny. I see a family, but I see a boy, a mommy, and a daddy, but I see a little girl that kind of looks like a frog. And the story's name is Green Wilma. So what do you think this story is going to be about? I wonder. Maybe it's going to be about a little girl who turned into a frog. Or maybe it's about a little girl who put green paint on her face. I don't know. Let's find out. I'm just going to take the cover right off because it's ripping off. This is called Green Wilma. One morning, Wilma woke up green. And much to her surprise, she sat up on her bed and croaked and started eating flies. Oh no. She washed, she dressed, she combed her hair and quickly made her bed. She hopped down to the breakfast table. "Pass the bugs," she said. "Green children should not go to school," she heard her mother fuss. But out the window, Wilma jumped and made off on the bus. Look at that funny picture. She's on the bus driver's head. Where is she going? In class, Green Wilma tried but simply couldn't keep her seat. In gym while playing dodgeball, Wilma never could be beat. See, she could hop around and get away from balls. Uh-oh. In art, the kids thought being green was absolutely great, but teacher said the green must be from something that she ate. How do you think she turned green? Do you think she ate broccoli and turned green? At story time, poor Wilma felt so hungry she could cry. And then she saw on teacher's nose a tasty little fly. Ow! What did she do? She ate a fly off teacher's nose. She chased it all around the room and up and down the hall and through the lunchroom. That's the place that flies love best of all. Uh-oh. The principal yelled, "Stop her! She should know we have a rule that children aren't allowed to munch on flies while they're at school." That sounds like an unnecessary rule because I don't think normal, regular, everyday kids eat flies. Uh-oh. Then out the door, Green Wilma hopped into the hills beyond. And finally, she caught that fly up over Miller's Pond. Wilma landed in the water with a noisy splash. She met a very hungry fish. And woke up in a flash. Then she recalled the words they teach to every little frog. When you dream, be careful that you don't fall off the log. That was a silly little story. Do you think that was a fiction, made-up story or a real non-fiction text? I think it was fiction. It was made up because do people really turn into frogs? No. What do you think happened in this story? Do you think she really ate something green or turned into a frog? And because at the end, it tells you when you dream, be careful that you don't fall off the log. I think, I wonder, when she woke up, do you think she was still a frog? I think when she woke up, she was a little girl and it was just a dream. But it was a really funny dream. And we noticed that some of the characteristics that she was portraying are ones that frogs do, right? They're green, they eat flies, they live in a swamp. We're going to learn more about frogs as the week goes on. So I want you to watch the videos and sing some of the songs. The 5 Green and Speckled Frog song is really fun. I have more stories for you. We're going to celebrate Earth Day this week, so it's going to be a great week. I want you to listen to your grown-ups and do your work, play, have fun, read some books, okay? I'll see you later. Bye.